This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
Hi, my name is Igor Kheifets, and this is The List Building Lifestyle, the only podcast which delivers cutting-edge conversion strategies from the online trenches straight to your earbuds. Download the transcript of today's episode and all future episodes at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com. I also invite you to grab a free copy of the Wealthy List Builder Survival Guide at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com/survival. And now, once again, it's time to claim your list building lifestyle. Welcome back to another edition of the List Building Lifestyle with your host, Igor Kheifets. Mark Manson is the best-selling author of one of my all-time favorite self-knowledge books titled The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. He's also a blogger, an internet entrepreneur, and a modern-day philosopher. I first came across Mark's work through a friend. I was going through a rough patch in my personal life, and he suggested I read Mark's article where he encourages to give fewer fucks about fewer things and fewer people. I listened to his advice, and my life improved. That's when I went deep down into the rabbit hole and became a Manson fanboy pretty much ever since. Mark's polarizing self-knowledge and relationship advice has transformed my life so much, I encourage all my friends who can read English to join the cult. And now, I am proud to host Mark here on the List Building Lifestyle. Mark, thank you so much for taking the time to rap with me.
It's good to be here, Igor. And thank you for the kind words.
Well, my pleasure. I meant every word. So, I guess this is where I want to start. So, I consider you one of the best self-help authors out there. Seriously, no joke.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, pound per pound, word for word, you're pretty much the most insightful self-help guy that I've come across online and in the world and, in any shape, way, form, media, whatever you want to call it. But you're sort of kind of like anti-self-help. You encourage people to stop trying to be happy, to screw trying to find their passion, and to, give up on the idea of living the perfect life or owning the perfect business and stuff like that. Why?
Because ultimately it's self-defeating. I talk about this in the first chapter of my book, which is the more you go around telling yourself that you need to be really happy, you need to be really successful, you need to be loved and admired and have all these great things, what you're actually unconsciously doing is you're reinforcing the belief that you don't already have enough. So in a way, ambition can actually be a little bit counterproductive. And it's only by embracing the fact that life sucks sometimes, that we're never going to be completely fulfilled, nothing is ever going to make us completely happy. It's only by embracing that and accepting that we're actually able to be content with our life and have a healthy emotional relationship with ourselves.
Wait, so you're actually saying, this is what I'm hearing, you say embrace the fact that life sucks.
Sometimes. Everybody's life sucks sometimes. I don't care who you are. It's, because I think our brain is wired in such a way that we kind of operate on this like little assumption. If I could just have X, then everything would be great. Because all we can see is like what's making us unhappy right now, right this minute. And so our brain comes up with this idea of like, well, if I can go out and achieve X, then this problem will be solved and I'll be happy forever. What we don't realize is X, whatever that thing that we're chasing after, also has problems and things that suck about it. So you're essentially, self-improvement is not about removing suffering from your life. Self-improvement is really just about improving the suffering of your life. Basically trading in current problems for better problems.
Okay, so you're saying basically that you suffer a certain way right now, and when you achieve your goal, whatever that goal is, you'll suffer in a different way, but you'll still suffer.
Right. I use the example in the book. I say, a homeless man has money problems. Warren Buffett also has money problems. It's just that Warren Buffett's money problems are much better than the homeless man. So like the problems never go away. It's just the quality of the problems get better. So it's the whole approach to self-improvement of removing problems from one's life is actually counterproductive, because what you end up doing is you just end up avoiding reality. You end up deluding yourself into thinking or chasing some like perfect life that doesn't actually exist.
Okay, I get that. I accept that. Now, here's something that I know some of our listeners are thinking right now, and that is, Mark, that's so easy for you to say that. You're a best-selling author. You wrote 2 books. You got, you just got married. You have the love of your life. You found her. You're so cool. You're good looking. Whatever. So you're like the perfect guy. So it's easy for you to say that, life kind of sucks, but your life doesn't seem to suck because you kind of have it all. And here I am, listening to Igor's show, and my life really sucks. Like, I'm literally trying to build my business from my bedroom. I have no money to buy advertising with. I don't understand why the gurus keep, pushing, junk down my throat all the time. I'm really confused and my relationships suck. So what would you tell that guy or gal that thinks that way? Because, it really, like what you're saying, kind of discourages one from wanting to improve their life.
Hey, I don't want to discourage anybody from improving their life. I just want people to be realistic about what they actually need to be improving. And it's funny because I do actually get that email fairly frequently of people like, "Oh, it's easy for you to say like you're really successful and you've got this awesome life." And my response is always like, first of all you see of me is what I portray on the internet. You don't actually see my life. Like, I definitely have problems in my life and things that I continue to struggle with. And two, people, if somebody looks at say you or me and they think like, well, it's easy for that guy to say he's got his life figured out. What they're doing is they're just projecting their own desires. So it's basically like it comes back to that kind of algorithm I talked about earlier. It's like in their head, they think they need to achieve X, and then they go around and they see that Igor and Mark have X, and so they immediately assume like, oh, well, Igor and Mark must be happy. They must not have problems in their lives. And the truth is that we just have different problems. Like, we don't have the same problem. We've solved that problem for ourselves, but we have other problems in our lives. And just to put a tangible example on this, like people may look at, say, my business or your business, and they're like, well, you guys figured it out and you guys are making money online, and this is all easy for you to say. Things must be great. And it's like, well, yeah, things are great. Like, it's great to make money online, but suddenly you're introduced with all these other problems of like managing staff, managing cash flow, dealing with taxes. Google might change its algorithm one day and half your revenue disappears. Like, there's a whole new set of problems to have that are better problems, but there's still problems and there's still things that, you and I get stressed about and struggle with.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. When I was getting into the way I discovered information marketing was through the dating niche. I was fat, I was awkward socially, and I needed some advice on how to date girls. And, what happened was I really thought for a while I went on like really frustrated and needy because I didn't have a girlfriend. And I looked at all the other guys who had girlfriends who, oftentimes would complain about it, and I'd be thinking, my God, you don't even understand how lucky you are. You like have no idea how good you got life figured out, And then when I had girlfriends, and later when I got married, there were times when, I just wanted to get out. I just want to say, you know what? No more women in my life ever. I don't need them. I'll just masturbate and I'll keep my sanity. That's what I'm gonna do. So that's it. I mean, I can totally relate to what you're saying. And in your book, you're saying that life is an ongoing problem solving exercise where you're changing one problem for another problem for another problem, which of course, again, 100% true. Now, how does then one go about achieving their goals or dreams, keeping their sanity, but at the same time not forfeiting, happiness in the process?
Sure. So the correct question to ask, in my opinion, is not necessarily what do I need to do to be happy? It's what problems do I enjoy solving, or what struggles do I enjoy enduring? And it's a simple kind of reframing of a basic question, but to me, this is like kind of the crux of changing one's perspective on self-improvement. Let's not look at, because when you say like, what do I want to do to be happy? What you're really kind of asking is like, what can I do to get away from my suffering? But as we were just talking about, like, you can't ever completely get away from suffering. So the more realistic question is, what suffering would I rather have? And what that does is that introduces the question of meaning, because the only things that we're willing to suffer for are things that feel very important and meaningful to us, like raising a child, or, helping a family member fight cancer, like something like that. And so really the question of self-improvement boils down to a question of meaning, which is essentially a question of what to give a fuck about.
Wow. So naturally, I want to ask if, let's just say somebody listening to this right now has no idea. They haven't decided yet, or maybe they have a bunch of things they give a fuck about, but they can't seem to decide on which of these things they want to focus on. Is there another question we can ask that helps us identify the most important thing for us at that point in time?
Well, I would say start out by simply listening to your emotions honestly. I've been marketing and publishing online for almost 10 years now, and I've met a lot of people in that time. And I can tell you, I've met a lot of people over the years that they don't actually enjoy their business. They don't even enjoy being an entrepreneur. They don't enjoy the uncertainty or the struggle. They don't enjoy having all the responsibility on themselves. They don't enjoy working alone. But for some reason, they continue to push themselves to do it, either because, they really want to make a bunch of money quickly, or they want to have a bunch of freedom immediately. And while those things are nice, like money and freedom are nice, they're not necessarily meaningful by themselves. You can go make $1 million, selling scammy stuff on Google AdWords, but that isn't necessarily going to add any meaning to your life. So those struggles aren't going to feel worthwhile or meaningful, after you work on them for some time. And so the question is to look at what you're doing and say, is this the struggle that, I enjoy? And just to give an example from my own business, I started out in info products as well, and doing a lot of affiliate marketing. And to be honest, I wasn't bad at it, but I wasn't very good at it. But more importantly, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy writing copy. I didn't enjoy, doing cold email promotions. I didn't enjoy doing pay-per-click advertising. And what I enjoyed was writing. What I enjoyed was blogging. And so there reached a point in my business that I was like, well, I'm pretty mediocre and experiencing very small amounts of success at all of these different things. But the writing and blogging is the only thing that actually feels important to me. I feel like I have a lot of important things to say that I could add, but I'm not giving myself that time. I'm too busy, trying to promote some ebook or something. And so finally in 2011, after a few years, I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to go full-time blogging and writing, and I'm going to try it for a year and see what happens. And if it doesn't work, then maybe I'll just go get a day job or something. And it was actually that reorienting myself to that struggle that I enjoyed. The struggle of writing is something that invigorates me and excites me, that my business and my career really took off.
So what you're saying, just to make sure that our listeners get this right, is you were already making some money doing affiliate marketing. And this is what took your business to the next level, where you focused exclusively on what was meaningful to you. Now, of course, this begs the question, were you to just not get good on writing copy, if you were to just kind of give up on all of that stuff, right, would you still be as successful? Because right now, your ability to write, it has something to do with your experience copywriting, your ability to sell, your ability to be polarizing. That stands out in your marketing 100%. So where do we find that balance, right? Where do we find the balance between identifying what we need and what we need to suffer through to get where we're going versus then taking that to the ultimate next level?
Yeah. My philosophy is always, it's better to try something and fail at it than to simply not try it. And I'm actually extremely grateful for the years I spent doing marketing and studying marketing for the exact reasons that you stated. I think my knowledge of copywriting and advertising informs my writing and my blogging in a way that helps distribute it very well. That said, it's so I'm glad I tried it. I'm glad I learned about it, but I'm also glad I didn't dedicate my career to it, because one, it wasn't my biggest talent area, and two, I'm sure if I really wanted to be an amazing copywriter, I probably would have gotten there if I spent years and years on it, but it simply wasn't where it didn't feel meaningful to me. The struggle of copywriting didn't invigorate me the same way a struggle of writing a really insightful blog post or a book does. And I have a saying that I've talked about for years, and actually I've given a few talks at conferences about it. I say passion is practical. People see passion as this do what you love and follow your dreams, and it's all this very abstract, kind of woo woo fooey type of stuff that I think most business people they're oh yeah, passion, yeah, that's nice, but come on, let's be real, let's make some money. And the point I try to make is that actually leveraging passion in your business, leveraging your own emotions can be extremely efficient and profitable. It can add way more productivity. Because if you think about it, if you're focusing on work that you really believe in and you really care about on an emotional level, you're going to be more resilient for failures. You're going to be more curious, more inspired to solve problems. You're going to be more innovative to try new things. And you're simply going to you're going to be more tenacious. Like you're going to have more what's the word I'm looking for? You're basically just going to weather through the shitstorms more often, and you're not gonna feel a need to quit. As soon as something goes wrong, you're going to be more inspired to try to like see what went wrong and fix it.
Mark, what you're saying on this call, like the big idea on this call, kind of it points me back when I started my business, and the reason I started it, to be honest with you, was to just escape poverty. There was no passion like to live the 4-hour work week or to become a best-selling whatever, right? To own one of the largest traffic agencies in the world or anything like that. There was just this poor kid, the poor immigrant boy from Ukraine who lives in Israel and who's just tired of constantly dealing, with the stress of his family being poor, just broke, and
Yeah.
all the emotional drama that came with it. Because I remember my parents were fighting about it too. And my dad kind of walked into the room after this big fight with my mom. And I was just listening to it. And of course, as a kid, when you hear your parents fight, somehow for some reason the brain tells you it's your fault. I'm not sure why, but that's how I always felt. And he went into my room. He said, "The only reason I'm not divorcing her is because of you." And he just left. He just went somewhere to get a drink or something. That was, ouch.
Yeah.
And I knew that all the problems were because we were poor, because at the time, my mom, she lost her job and dad was out of work for like 2 years. And I swore that, look, something had to change. And, for no matter how I do it, I will achieve the purpose, the end goal of not being poor anymore. It was like, it still is I guess the greatest fear I've ever had is to be poor. It's like, I guess it's like the fear of death. It's
Sure.
just as big. So, for me, it was never about the passion. It was just about, getting away from that suffering. And that is why I also never got how come. And in our industry, it's, there's a lot of talk about, living your passion, stuff like that. I never got that.
Yeah.
I'm that sort of guy that you mentioned. I'm like, okay, passion is awesome. Now let's get practical and let's figure out what this marketplace wants and let's give it to it. And that was my philosophy.
Yeah, and what I've noticed over the years, and this is definitely true with myself, because when I started my business, so I graduated university like right into the crash of 2008. So I basically like got handed my diploma, and it was like, guess what? There's no jobs for anybody, and so I kind of bummed around. I had a couple like little part-time jobs, but I was literally living on a friend's couch because I had no money. So at that point. And that's when I started reading about this stuff. I was like, well, hell, I have nothing to lose. Like, and I read the 4-hour work week. So I'm like, living in Argentina sounds cool. Like, I'll go do that. And so for me, it was similar. It was the first couple years. It was like, let's just make $1,000 a month and then see what happens. And it's like, and I will do whatever it takes to get to that point, like $1,000 to $2,000 a month, just enough that I can like pay rent, buy myself lunch, maybe go out and have a beer with some friends every once in a while, because I couldn't do any of that when I started. And I think a lot of people kind of start the same place. Like starting a business, it's a very scary thing. There's a lot of insecurity involved. Financial insecurity that's involved when you start. And so I think a lot of people in the beginning, it is appropriate for them to orient themselves towards like, I just need to make money. Like, screw this. I think it's once people kind of reach that like modest level of success, at least, and this was true for me, and I see this with a lot of people too, is that once they kind of reach that point where they have like a stable income, they're making like, a nice middle class income, they can afford, like they can afford to travel, they can afford, they can buy a car or get a mortgage or something like that. Like that's, I think, when they start asking these bigger questions of like, okay, is this actually the thing I want to do for the next 25 years? Because a lot of times the thing that expedites getting the money rolling in is not the same thing that you're like, wait, do I still want to be doing this when I'm 50? And that's kind of the big wake up call I had in my late 20s. I was looking at a lot of the stuff I was doing to make money, and I was like, wait a second, I don't want to be like 55 and still like like spamming spamming emails to people like buy supplements and stuff. I'm like, that sounds horrible. So I'm like, I should find something that like I would feel really good about doing, you know? So yeah, I think it's a question that everybody should ask at some point, but I think some people are ready at different times. The point I just try to make is that it can be a practical addition to your business. Passion and business aren't necessarily separate things. Like it's being passionate about what you're working on can make you more productive and can scale your business quicker.
Mark, look, we're coming down towards the end of this interview, and I'm really sad because it's a kick-ass interview. But I do have to ask you one of those cliche questions
Sure.
that goes something like, what are the three things, the three biggest lessons you learned when you started your online business? Because you're somebody who went from that guy on a friend's couch who with a laptop all the way to being, a wealthy, self-made man. So what would be the three things you would want to share with yourself back when you started that you know now that if you knew back then, you'd succeed faster?
The first one that definitely comes to mind is learning your strengths. I think in the beginning for people, it's important to learn a little bit of and try a little bit of everything, learn a little bit about SEO, learn a little bit about pay-per-click advertising, learn a little bit about blogging, learn a bit about social media, like dabble in everything. But eventually like something will stand out as something that suits your natural strengths. Like you'll soon find that you have an easier time achieving success at something more than other people. And the biggest principle that I've learned over the years that I still practice today is just double down on what works. Double down, and that goes for not just like ad campaigns, like that goes for yourself. Like double down on your skills that work. If you're really great at writing and you're a mediocre manager, it's like go hire managers. Give yourself time to like write marketing. That's the biggest thing. I think you want me to come up with three. I'd say try everything is another one. Is like don't be afraid of embarrassing yourself. Honestly, some of the most important moments in my career were product launches that flopped horribly, like launching websites that nobody looked at, nobody read. Those are just as important, if not more important than the successes. So don't be afraid to embarrass yourself or try something a little bit crazy. And then the third one, I don't know, treat yourself well. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, there's not only are a lot of entrepreneurs like workaholics, but I think workaholism is a little bit celebrated. It's kind of like it's a badge of honor among entrepreneurs. And again, like if you're just starting out, like and you're broke, yeah, like working 16 hours a day is kind of necessary sometimes. But I think for me, it's taken me a long time to back off and start like living a more balanced lifestyle and like treating myself well, taking time off, taking vacations, like going out and having a nice like weekend with the wife. It took me too many years to start letting myself do that. And so I would encourage people to do that. And just like the passion thing, taking time off, it makes you more effective when you work. Like you get more productivity and creativity out of those hours you do work than if you just like grind yourself 7 days a week, 12 hours a day.
Yeah, but when you get into the habit of grinding yourself, what happens is even when you go out for that weekend or you go on vacation, you feel guilty for being on vacation. Yeah. My friend just went out for like a 7-day vacation after 4 years of not any, no vacations whatsoever. And he's an entrepreneur. He runs a grocery store. And I said, look, man, on the second day, you're going to feel something and it's going to feel weird and it's going to be guilt because you're not working. Don't give in to that. Yeah, don't give in. Just, have fun, be cool. And, he called me on the third day. He's like, dude, this is amazing. Prague is insane. The food is awesome. The beer is incredible. But man, I miss the store. I just want to go back and get to work.
It's an addiction. I'll leave you with a story, and this is a true story. So I started my business in 2007. I met my wife in 2012, and I was living in Brazil at the time. And I'd been traveling around the world and living in a bunch of different places, but I had basically been working 6 to 7 days a week the entire time. The only time that I didn't work is if I had like a really long international flight or something. And even then I would do some work on the plane. So I was accustomed to working like 50, 60 hours a week for like 5 years straight. And I was living in Brazil. I'd been dating my wife for about a year and a half. And she was like dying to go to there's an island in Brazil called Fernando de Noronha. And it's this gorgeous place It's very uninhabited, very untouched. And it was like the number one place she had always wanted to go. So I took her for her birthday that year. And little did I know that first of all, there was no internet on the entire island. And second of all, like the wireless, like the data barely worked on the island. So you were essentially cut off from the internet. And I was there for 6 days. And I think the first 48 hours, I nearly went into convulsions with like anxiety and like freaking out that like I wasn't checking my email. Like, what if there were customer support issues? I wasn't answering, and it was by the third day I finally calmed down. And then I noticed by the fourth and fifth day, I had gotten this distance and this perspective from my business. And it was sitting on the beach on that island. I came up with 2 ideas. I said, I'm going to change my website. I'm going to change it to markmanson.net, and I'm going to write a book. And the book is going to be about how happiness is based on struggle. And those 2 things, those 2 like ideas I had on the same beach on the same day when I had no internet around me for 5 days, essentially 10x my business over the last 3 years. And they were by far the 2 most profitable things I've ever done in my career. And they were both like thought of on the same day. And it's when I had no internet anywhere. So take that as I don't know what the word is, like a story or a fable to take home and think about.
Take that, workaholics, and take that, the internet. You're an anti-productivity. Well, thank you for sharing that. Definitely, there's a bunch of people who can relate to that, and way too many people don't take breaks. I am one of them. To this day, have issues with vacations. So I'll definitely take on your advice and give it a shot. And, I'm just really grateful for having the opportunity to interview you. And one more thing that I forgot to mention, of course, as I mentioned in the beginning of this call, I am a huge Manson fanboy, and I encourage everybody I know to join the cult. So I'm encouraging you, the listener, right now, to go on Amazon.com, pick up a copy of The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and become a subscriber on markmanson.net. And as far as I know right now, there's an option to become a paid subscriber as well. So Can you share with us the benefits of doing that?
So I'm trying to pioneer a little bit of a new business model with my blog, which is about 75% of the content is free. And then there's about 25% that people have to pay a small fee. It's $4 a month to have access to. But basically that 25%, it's like the deep dive stuff. So it's not just self-help stuff. So I have videos and articles about my experiences, how to go viral on social media, how I wrote a New York Times bestselling book, some of like behind the scenes experiences that I feel are still valuable and I want to talk about, but it doesn't make sense to write it for the entire audience. But it's if people are like really interested in that kind of stuff, that behind the scenes stuff about my business and what I'm doing, they can pay a small fee and get access to it.
All right. And that's $4. $4.
Not bad.
Man, where the hell am I going to come up with $4 to give you, Mark?
I don't know, man.
There's got to
be there's got to be some offer out
there. Is there a discount, code or coupon we can, something?
How about this? If you sign up and you email me and you said, email me telling me that Igor promised a discount, I'll PayPal you $1. How about that?
Man,
it's 25% off your first month.
You're so generous. Thank you so much.
I know.
I expect an email from me saying that. All right. Well, once again, Mark, extremely grateful for you taking the time to rep with us today. Appreciate the advice. Guys, make sure to visit markmanson.net. Check out Mark's work. It's incredible. It's eye-opening. It will force you to question yourself and improve your life. So, Mark, until next time we chat, have a great one.
All right. Thanks, Igor.
Thank you for listening to The List Building Lifestyle. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes or Google Play to never miss an episode. Because who knows, just one conversion tactic we share on the show might double your list and double your business. Download the transcript of today's episode and all future episodes at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com. And don't forget to claim your complimentary copy of the Wealthy List Builder Survival Guide at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com/survival. This is Igor Kheifets, and until next time we talk, have a good one.
This is the podcastfactory.com.